Please allow me to welcome you to today's short webinar. We are going to be talking about how to apply to grad school in the US. And I have the special honor of having the Senior Supervising Education USA Advisor, Mrs. Folashade Adebayo. She's the one on the screen. If you're an attendee, she's the one right below me. She has over 15 years of experience mentoring and guiding students to apply to schools in the US. She mentored me personally then. I remember I was one of her toughest advisees. I used to have so many questions. I had an Excel spreadsheet of like 40 something schools, and I looked at all the criteria, and she's like, oh, you're too supercilious. I'm glad to have her here. She's smiling. So got so good, she was able to mentor me, and I got a full scholarship to do my PhD. Actually, I got a PhD, direct PhD admission, but I had the option of getting a master's along the way. So I finished with my master's degree last year in 2019, and I'm continuing with my PhD at Tufts University here in Medford or Boston, Massachusetts. So, Stephen, can you kindly move to the next slide? Yes, so that's Mrs. Folashade Adebayo. Her bio is on the website, the webinar link, and you should all feel free to reach out to her. Next slide, please. Yeah, okay. I don't need to introduce myself. So I finished from mechanical engineering. That happens to all of us all the time. I also made a very funny mistake in my application. I wrote an application to University of Utah, and I talked about how much I loved MIT. Obviously, I didn't get it. So I can see, I can see that my friend Stephen Ogunobi made a mistake at the mechanical, but that's fine. It's good. It's he did this last minute. So yeah, it's not mechanical engineering, it's mechanical, but I understand. I also make mistakes all the time. But thank you so much for putting together these slides together. It's such a on such a short notice. Next slide. Yeah, so we're going to talk about a few things. Why grad school? Why the US? How does this help Nigeria or Africa? What should your right motivations be? What are the common misconceptions and the general overview, and finding resources to help the journey? So I will speak this, what's the time right now? Let me check my computer, second computer here. What's the time? I'm on full screen view, I can see my time. Okay, let me check my phone. 3:11 p.m. All right, so I will speak till 3:30, and Auntie Shade will pick it up from there. And then we should have time for questions, and we should be able to finish everything by, like, she should have like 15 minutes as well or more. And we should have at least 15 questions. So why grad school? When you graduate from college, what we call first degree in Nigeria, you have basically two options. You either go into the job market straight, or you proceed for higher education. And it is important to know why grad school may be a logical option to explore. It's definitely not for everyone, but if you want to make the maximum impact in your career, I think that if the average person retires at 60 or 65, if you graduate on the average, worst case, let's say you graduate from your first degree at 25, you didn't get into school on time. I think it makes sense to still spend an extra 2 to 5 years in mastering certain skills. That's my own opinion. I may be wrong. In mastering certain skills that will make you stand out in the job market. I think at least a master's degree is quickly becoming a minimum. PhD is definitely not for everyone. But if you have the opportunity to go and do your master's degree, I think it's something that will be very valuable for whatever career path you choose. So why graduate school? Depending on your career, your career path or the profession you choose, this may be optional or compulsory for you. So if you want to be a doctor, you have no choice but to go to grad school. Well, even a medical doctor, you go for undergrad the way it's done in the US. You go for your undergraduate for 4 years in any course, and then you apply, you write the MCAT, and you apply to medical school. Medical school is sort of like grad school, after which you do your residency, and then you are able to start practicing. So the 4 years or so of medical school is also sort of like grad school. If you want to teach as a professor as well, it's important you have a PhD. So you have to go to graduate school. What we call graduate school in the US here, in Nigeria and in the British system, it's called postgraduate school. It's essentially the same thing. So if you want to practice as a pharmacist too, you have to go to grad school. There are specific disciplines that have license requirements. You can't be a doctor of optometry without being a doctor of optometry. That's essentially, now they may not be fully fledged PhD programs, and if I'm wrong, and Shadi will correct me, but the point is you cannot do certain disciplines without going to grad school. You don't have to go to graduate school to be an engineer. Your bachelor's degree is fine. Those are professions or career paths where it's a little bit optional. But I would argue that if you did your first degree in Nigeria, you would get a lot of benefits in going to graduate school abroad because it exposes you to cutting edge research that's being done. The other reason to go to graduate school is research, obviously. For you to be a researcher, you need to learn. It's a sort of apprenticeship. You are learning under renowned, experienced advisors, academic advisors, and you're working towards your own thesis. And when you do that, you have to spend some time in school. That's essentially what I am doing now in my PhD, exploring a topic and trying to know more about it than most people in the world, so you can make some impact. Now, next slide, please. By the way, I would have to quickly recognize Daniel. I think he had connection issues. He was here before the webinar started. He dropped off.
Yeah.
The one who hosted it. I would let you chat with us later because we've started. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. We've started the presentation, so we will finish very soon, and then you would be able to have a word with us. Now, there are many schools in the world, and there are many countries in the world, essentially. Why the United States of America? Obviously, I'm biased. Folashade Adebayo works for the US Embassy. This is about, I'm trying to convince you that whilst there are many places you can go on the map, many people go to the UK, many people go to Canada, some people go to Germany, and a few other countries. I think the United States is unique in the sense that, in my own opinion, the US provides the highest number of opportunities for you with the biggest level of flexibility. What do I mean? Especially when it comes to funding. So I'll give you a personal example. I remember when I was applying in 2016, 2017 to grad school, 2016, at a point, I wasn't sure whether or not the applications to the US schools would work. And so I decided to pick up a Commonwealth application online. I think it was a Commonwealth shared scholarship. And I was applying to Cranfield. Many of my university professors at University of Benin, I think we have a couple of them in mechanical engineering who are graduates of Cranfield. So the slots were just 2. Then I almost submitted my application until I came across a second document called Terms and Conditions. And then I saw that they were expecting all the countries of the British Commonwealth, more than like 10 countries in Africa, to apply for just 144 slots. I saw that document and I closed the application. I didn't do anything again. I'm like, this makes no sense. Why would the odds are so low when in the US, that same year, when I was doing my college application, the grad school application research, Virginia Tech alone, mechanical engineering in Virginia Tech alone had over 120 fully paid research assistants. Like, many of my first class friends don't get this. They all want to go to the UK. It's beautiful. Is there. Okay, so okay, we have issues with the video, but chevening is there, and some other scholarships are there. But if you think about it in numbers, it doesn't make sense to me. You have a lot more opportunity in the US because one department alone can hire as many as 30 graduate students every year, fully funded. And there are over 4,000 universities in the US. At least there are over 1,600 that have graduate programs. And you're not restricted by what you studied in your undergrad. As long as you can make a case for why you're interested in switching to another field, and you can demonstrate that you have the aptitude to learn what you need to learn, it is a no-brainer in my opinion. Like, the US is a fantastic place to study compared to other countries. As I said, I am biased, but I know that there's a lot more. The funding opportunities in the US are almost times 10 of what we have in the other countries. Okay, I'm on time. So next slide, please. By the way, I would also tell you that the US is the place where the most cutting edge research is being done. Think about people, Elon Musk, um, some other popular names. Like, you really have to come to the US. I tell my friends, it's the final destination. Even the people who go to Canada want to come to the US at the end of the day. You know, they can go to Canada because it's easier to get permanent residency. But if you want to be in the place where the action is happening, I think the US is the best place to be. So, um, I personally believe in giving back. And in everything we do, I think we should always have a mind to know that we are Africans. Perhaps there are some people here who are not Nigerians, but I imagine most people on this call are Nigerians. It's like, how can I make an impact in my society? And how does grad school help me do this? Um, the truth is that if you acquire skills and the aptitude to do certain things that are meaningful, that can add value in the world, that helps you to make the world a better place. So I have friends, I'll mention a few of them. You know, I have friends who are doing cancer research. I have people I admire who are they are working on like virology. They are doing a lot of cutting edge research. There are people who are doing the research on the COVID-19 pandemic right now as we speak, and their work is making a real impact in the world. Some people are learning things with the intent of going back to Nigeria. So one of my friends, I'm trying to remember his name now. He finished from MIT. I can see his picture in my mind. Maybe Auntie Shade knows him. He's from Education USA Lagos. Um, he he finished from MIT, and then he started an NGO in Nigeria, an educational NGO. He won some awards and grants, and we have some people who contribute by going back. They start something, but they come here first to get the skills and to get the connections and the access to capital to do what it is they want to do. So I think that having the mind to give back is helpful. How do you make an impact in society? It helps for you to master skills, first of all, before you are able to make that impact. So it we also have there's this professor Undibi does Tekidia Institute. He has his own personal thing on LinkedIn, but I think he's a professor at Carnegie Mellon University. We have people in different places. There's Professor Rita Orji. I don't know her personally. I see her post on LinkedIn, and she's a fantastic Nigerian doing great things abroad. There are people working on life-saving, futuristic, nice technology that is impacting not just Nigeria, but the entire world. So I think having that motivation is really helpful. How do I give back? Either directly through my research or by getting skills to go back to the country and actually do something. Or even if it's just by being the best at what you do, I believe that giving your best whatever you're doing and adding value to the world is also a way to give back and being able to enhance your ability to your earning potential. I think it's also a good thing. So next slide, Stephen. Yeah. right motivations. I have touched on this: impact, development, and future. As a person, I think if you stay in one place, you are going to sort of wither. If you're not growing, you're dying. You can't be static. So the part of self-development, I see some of my friends who are comfortable in some nice companies in Nigeria, and I'm like, I know you have the ability to do more. You don't want to, I don't want to die and feel like I haven't used the talents that God has given to me. So in terms of personal development, stretching yourself and learning as much as you can to be able to contribute to humanity, I think that's what one of the right motivations should be. Um, what impact do you want to leave in the world when you die? That should be the right thing for graduate school. And there's nothing wrong with making money. There are people who want to come here because, frankly, it's a capitalist society. The way the economics is right now, computer scientists are in demand, data scientists are in demand, a lot of other fields are in demand. And even if it's just by supporting your other family members back in Nigeria based on the extra income you're able to get, I think you're also making an impact in society. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with trying to, in my own opinion, in trying to get the maximum possible income you can get with the level of intelligence you've been bestowed with. Next slide. Yeah, so this speaks for itself. There's this book that I love, Donald Asher, Graduate Admissions Essays. And it, yeah, Graduate Admissions Essays. And it's a very, I would say, at least in Education USA Lagos, they will tell you, don't talk to the advisors until you read this book. Um, it's a really good book. The first few chapters detail how the application works. Um, the first few chapters detail how the application process works, but it gives you a very good overview to be able to see what the admissions officers are expecting, to be able to go into their mind. And it has a very nice section, I think it's chapter 5 or chapter 7, on introspection and being able to write the best essays. And there are so many sample essays in it. So I think it's helpful to read that book, Donald Asher, Graduate Admissions Essays. It's one of the books I highly recommend. You also speak to people who have like-minded goals. The internet is there, LinkedIn, you can literally connect with anybody via LinkedIn. I look for some people and I chat them up and I eventually engage with them. I've been able to connect with friends from MIT who are doing their MBA programs when I was considering doing that. You know, it's unbelievable what you can achieve by just talking to people. And most importantly, you should reach out to Education USA. That's why Auntie Shade is here. How many minutes do I have left? Okay, 3:26. I have 4 minutes left. Please, next slide. Common misconceptions. It's impossible. It's a waste of time. I can't do it. I can't get a full scholarship. Some people are usually shocked that I got a direct PhD. I have to clarify that now. In the US, you have to have a master's before you apply for a PhD. I applied for a PhD straight up from my undergrad, and I had the option of getting a master's degree along the way. There are a few of my friends who didn't even have the option of getting a master's, so they went straight from their undergrad to their PhD. It is very, very possible. So people are usually shocked when they hear that I'm a PhD student. Like, when did you do you have your master's already? Well, I have it now, but I actually didn't need it. And if you have a master's degree in Nigeria, it basically doesn't count that much, in my own opinion, because every program or department, because when we talk about the graduate school, the school itself doesn't really matter. So at Tufts University, where I am, for instance, the Department of Mechanical Engineering is a separate program from the Department of is separate from the Department of Electrical Engineering. So every program is different. Mechanical engineering may have a budget of 2 million US dollars for research. whilst computer science may have double that amount, or a program like history would be struggling to raise $500,000, or they may not have money. And so every program is different. When you are applying to graduate school, the school itself doesn't matter per se, as much as the program you are interested in. That's a very important thing for us to note. So some people think it is impossible. Trust me, it is not impossible. You would lose motivation along the way. That is normal. But I like to tell the story of somebody, a friend who I got motivation from. She studied outside Nigeria for her first degree, and interestingly, for whatever reasons, she finished with a second class lower. But this didn't stop her. She was very smart. Yes, she made, I don't know, for whatever reason, she didn't do that well in her undergrad. Now, this is an exceptional case. I am not saying if you have a terrible result, you are guaranteed of getting full scholarship here. But what did this lady do? She was able to demonstrate her case for how exceptional her circumstances were by, first of all, doing exceedingly well on the GRE. I think she had about 325 on the GRE, and she eventually went to a university that I will not name, and she works for one of the top tech companies that I will not name because I haven't asked for permission before sharing this story. But what am I saying? Whatever mistakes you've made in the past, they've gone. You have an opportunity to work on your GRE, your TOEFL, putting all your mind into getting the best scores you can. And I always tease my friends who are first class holders. They often think the GRE, oh, I'm smart, I finished with the first class, and they are relaxed. And then those of us who finished with a very good 2-1, we know that we don't have a 4.5 GPA, but the only chance we have is the GRE to do really well. So the very first time we tried the GRE, we put in all our efforts into it, and the average person with a GPA of above 4.2 or 4.3, but not 4.5, they get very decent scores on the first try of the GRE. Many first class people, because they think it is like, oh, I got a first class, when they write their first GRE, at least 30% of them are discouraged. They don't tell anybody their scores. They are so embarrassed because they can't believe that their scores could be that low. It is not about, I believe somebody said something, I think it's Friday, he said, the GRE is not a test of your intelligence or anything. It is a test of how well prepared you are for the GRE. And 100 hours is the rule of practice. And you can, and Shade will share some other things later. For those people who are joining the group chat, she will, I think the link, she will reach out to people, or people can reach out to her and send an email to our official email address to see how they can be a part of Education USA. So those misconceptions should get out of our mind. Stephen, next slide. Is that the end? Okay, I can't hear you. You're mute, but okay. I guess that's the, yeah. So the general overview of the process. I'm so sorry, Auntie Shade. Okay, just give me one more minute. So you decide on the program you want to do. You research on schools. You seek guidance. That's extremely important. Education USA is actually an arm of the US Embassy. I think it's an arm of the Public Affairs Unit. And so they are paid to help attract international students abroad to come school in the US. So it's their job. And Shai always tells me, it is my job. I'm not doing you a favor. So reach out to them. You can go to their website, and at the end of this webinar, the Education USA Abuja Instagram page is what I put there in the exit poll survey. And Auntie Shade normally runs an Instagram live session every Wednesday, right? So she can also answer more of your questions there. Seek guidance, prepare to take all the standardized tests. So you need to take the GRE, you need to take the TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language, although some schools are waiving it, but I would say if most of the schools on your list need it, just take both of them and submit your applications to those schools. So a completed application file consists of like your standardized test results, letters of recommendation from your advisors. They usually need like 2 or 3. So like 2 letters of recommendation from maybe your project supervisor or any other university professor who knows you. And when I say professor, it can mean a lecturer. It doesn't have to be a professor. Then I think you also have to write a personal statement, or what we call a statement of purpose. So that is where we know why you are doing what you are doing. That's when you are able to convince the admissions committee that I really want to come to graduate school for this reason. Can you give me a chance? And try to submit your applications on time. We are very close to the application deadlines. There are some will be in November 15, some will be in December 1, some December 15. I think for most good schools, January 15 is usually the last. January 15 or 30. February 15 is like, I think, but just plan for December. Plan for December 15 for most of your school deadlines. Every school has different deadlines, but you need to write your GRE on time. If you haven't written it, this is the time to start preparing for the GRE and the TOEFL and those exams. And I think I have to stop here and allow Auntie Shade to take over. This is 3:33 p.m. EST, and I'm sure she would pick up on any other thing that I haven't said. So, Auntie Shade, thank you for joining us. Over to you.
All right, I'm just going to touch on things that maybe you didn't mention. So first of all, for those of us asking for recommendation letters, just make sure the professor or the teacher or the lecturer you're using is using an official email. So please don't accept Gmail or Yahoo email when you're requesting for recommendation letters. So make sure that they have the edu.ng email address as the email address you're using. And I also want you to understand the requirement. The US has an application requirement, so we need to plan ahead of time. Planning your time is very important. I always tell people you need to start a year ahead. If this is the first time of joining the session and you're thinking of going to school next year, I'm just like, can you make it? You can if you're able to write the GRE before December. But honestly, if you're not able to write the GRE before December, I would strongly advise you to consider 2022 because you need a lot of time to practice for GRE. So GRE is not a matter of strength or a matter of I'm a first class, I know everything. It's about you practicing. It's practice, practice, practice. So I'm going to talk a little bit about statement of purpose. I feel that's kind of one bullet that gets into graduate school. And a lot of us in Nigeria don't know how to write. I think writing is a problem for us. It's a challenge. I think we go through the whole 4 years speaking Pidgin English in University of Benin. I beg your pardon, University of Benin people. And by the time you graduate from the university, your writing skills are amazing, 100% writing skills. So please, for the writing statement, as Victor said, use do not ashes. It's very, very important that you use do not ashes. Then I'll also strongly encourage you to look at sample essays. Don't plagiarize, but look at sample essays and be yourself. It's a time for you for people to know you, know your interests, for them to assess your skills, and for them to compare you with other applicants. So being able to be compared to other applicants is very, very key. So be concise, as I said earlier, be clear, be specific, focus on your experience and make sure you draw meaningful conclusion that the school will understand that you've really read about them and you know them. And when you're going to be applying to multiple schools, please make sure that you edit your essay to suit the school that you're applying to. So for example, you're saying in conclusion, Tufts is the best school I want to go to, or it's my dream school. And whereas you're applying to University of Maryland, then in your essay, you have Tufts University in your essay. Common mistakes that people make when they're applying to school. So please take note of that and make sure you dot all your I's and cross all your T's as you're applying to schools. Then things you need to start worrying about is transcripts. Start worrying about your transcripts. Start worrying about who is going to write recommendation letter for you. Start worrying about that. Start worrying about the teachers that would support you. You need to give them time. Don't bother them and tell them that you need to write recommendation letter for me now. Please tell them now they're writing recommendation letters for you. Tell them now. Then in conclusion, I want to talk about the various funding in the US. Yes, we have funding in America, but they're categorized into different categories. So I'm going to talk about the assistantship position. I don't like using the word, oh, there is scholarship in America. There are assistantship positions in the US. That's what it is. We have assistantship positions that can help you pay for tuition and give you stipend. Indirectly, you're working for your money. America doesn't give you anything for free. Trust me, it is not free. You are working to get a research assistantship, or you're going to get a teaching assistantship, or you're going to get a graduate assistantship. And trust me, even if you get a fellowship, they're going to be sucking you out of that fellowship by the time they give you a fellowship in the US. Your brain will be fried out because they give you a fellowship. So put that at the back of your mind. So it's either you get a teaching assistantship, which is awarded by the department for you to teach either an undergraduate class or support a professor, or you get a research assistantship, which is for you to help the department or the professor do research work, or you get a graduate assistantship, which is basically you working on campus. You can be working in a computer lab, working in the admission section. It can be anything, but admin work on campus that can help you reduce tuition and fees. Then, of course, you can get a fellowship. So a fellowship is the best, really. You get everything. But remember, when you're making that final decision of, oh, I'm going to school A or school B, oh, this school gave me $2,000 stipend. That school gave me $1,500 stipend. So I'm going to the school that gave me $2,000 because the stipend is more. There's nothing like the stipend is more. That school gave you more stipend, maybe because where you're staying or where you're going to be living, like for example, Boston or New York is ridiculously expensive. I would turn down a $2,000 stipend in Boston and take a $1,000 stipend in Arkansas or in Kansas, because I can get apartment or even a luxurious 2-bedroom flat there for $400. In Boston, one room that you share with people, you pay $1,000, even plus on that. So it's a cost of living that brings about the stipend. So you don't think about saving money that, oh, if I get this stipend for $2,000, I'm going to save more money. It doesn't work that way. I think I'm going to let it be for now. I will take questions.
Okay. I think we have a few questions here. Q&A. Okay, 4.
Can I just put in some things as
Yes.
you're looking for the questions?
Sure.
All right, so STEM majors have more opportunities to get funding in the US. Just some patterns and trends that I want to throw out. Admissions are easier for those who are applying for masters compared to PhD. There's more funding in PhD compared to masters. Yeah, so it's kind of, it's funny. And research and doctoral universities have far more money than the master's institution. So put that in the back of your mind. There's more funding in STEM majors, science, technology, engineering, and math. There's more funding compared to somebody who read economics or you read psychology. I'm not saying you don't get funding in those majors, but you have more funding if you're a science, there's more opportunity for you to get funding at the science, if you're a science-based major. So put at the back of your mind that strong academic background, research, teaching experiences always increase your chances of getting funding in the US. It's very important that you have those skills. And for those of us who will be writing TOEFL, I'm begging you in the name of God, like my hands are like this, begging you, please pay attention to your speaking section. It goes a long way, them deciding if you're getting an assistantship position or not. I'm not saying you should go and be speaking phoneme when you're doing TOEFL speaking. Just be clear, as in speak clear English. Let them be able to hear the words that you're pronouncing. Please practice. I've seen a lot of cases where people they don't get funded because of the school policy of having a minimum TOEFL speaking section of 22 or 23 or a 24. I've seen it over and over and over again happening to students when the professor will say, you know what, I really want to take you, but your TOEFL speaking section doesn't meet the school's minimum requirements. So when you're taking TOEFL or you're taking IELTS, please pay attention to your speaking section. And don't go around looking for waivers in terms of, oh, I don't want to write GRE, I don't want to write TOEFL. All those things is a holistic application package. All the things put together is actually what stands you out in the application form.
Yeah. So, Auntie Shade, there are a few questions here. They can't see the questions. We can see them and decide.
Yeah, I can see the questions actually.
Okay, great. So please feel free to answer anyone. As you're looking out for the questions, I wanted to add a few things to the funding opportunities because people don't really understand it. So basically, as Auntie Shade mentioned, there are like 3 types of funding options available, or 4. What we know as the scholarship is the fellowship. It's called a fellowship. That is like, in theory, it's you don't have any obligations. They think that you're so smart, and they are giving you this money. They are saying, we are going to pay you $40,000 per year to focus on your education and not have to worry about how to get money. But as she said, the expectations for you to do very well in research is there. The second one is like a job. The other 3 are actually jobs. Graduate teaching assistantships, and that's why your TOEFL score is important. Your TOEFL speaking score, because you are going to be teaching, in the sense that you may be teaching some labs or you'll be doing office hours. We call something called office hours here. I didn't know what office hours meant. My first semester, I think it took me like about 3 weeks before I knew the meaning of office hours. I'm like, oh, so there's a homework and you can actually go and talk to your professors about it. I'm like, but you're supposed to figure it out on your own. So you can talk to your professors about homework, and then there are some other students, senior students, who are called teaching assistants, who you can also talk, and they usually have like at least 1 hour per week to meet with students to discuss how you can. They will give you the approach. They will not tell you the answer, obviously, but they will try and point you in the right direction just to ensure that you learn, because the goal here is for you to learn. So teaching assistants are hired by the university. They need to know how to speak good English, and I don't think I have that much phoneme in my voice. That's another thing that I see that people do. Trust me, you're not an American. When you are trying to fake their accent, they know it sounds ridiculous. And even on the even on the TOEFL test, because I remember I took a sample like test or something, and I heard the very heavy Chinese accent of the lady. So it's not about your accent, it's about the clarity of your speech. I think I had a 117 over 120 in TOEFL. I think I had a perfect score in my, I think speaking was the one I didn't have a perfect score in. In the rest, I had perfect scores in all of them, because there are 4 sections. 3 times 4 is 120. So I had, yeah, I had 117. I think it was my speaking score.
30, then speaking you had 27.
27, yes, thank you. So, but I remember that trick really helped me. It's a trick, because some people think they need to, from like, hey, my name is Victor, blah, 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 blah. Like, you've lived 20-something years of your life speaking with your Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa or Ekiti or whatever accent you have. It's not going to change. The most important thing is the consonants and the vowels. Can people make out what you are saying? I think this is an extremely important point that many people don't get about the TOEFL. Because when you try to speak like an American, you sound really ridiculous to a fellow Nigerian, and you are inaudible, completely inaudible to the Americans themselves. So please don't do it. Just speak in your normal voice. So that's for teaching assistantships. So as a teaching assistant, you are now entitled to, how do you now fund your education? Most universities give what they call a full or partial tuition waiver. So once you get admitted as a teaching assistant, so this is the way the funding thing works. You automatically qualify for either a full or partial tuition waiver. And Shade will say, partial, delete, don't even apply. Don't apply. Like, why would they? Yeah, they need to cover 100% of your tuition if you are working as a teaching assistant. Then for your teaching, for what you are teaching, they will now pay you what we call stipends, or like salary. The reason it is called stipend is because if you decide not to do the PhD or master's, you are going to be able to get at least ×2 in the job market. They don't really, it's no money for you to come and buy a car and be sending to Nigeria, or money for you to think you've arrived and be building houses for your family back home. As she said, they calculate the cost of living in everywhere. It is enough for one person to just survive, barely survive actually. The only reason you can survive is because many Nigerians or Africans know how to cook. If you were to buy food, like I had a colleague who was always complaining about how the stipend is too small. That's why it's called a stipend. Knowing how to cook, whether you're a guy or a girl, will really help you save money. So you are just going to be on the minimum wage, but you will not, you have enough food to eat. So it's a stipend. And then for the other way of funding is also it's called a graduate research assistantship. So the difference between research and teaching is that for a research assistant, there is a specific research project funded by a funding agency or whatever, NSF, NIH, whatever funding agency. Your advisor has already received a grant for a project. And in the grants, they normally have a budget for number of students they will hire. So he's going to pay you for doing that research. So you won't have time to be teaching. He will tell you, look, apart from your normal classwork, just focus on my research. You may be in the lab for a very long time. And especially for people who work in the biological or science fields, they mostly they get used a lot as research assistants, even engineers. So if you're a research assistant, the pressure is on you with deadlines, with funding agencies to do things. And so you also get paid for research. Most research assistantship contracts last for 12 months. Most teaching assistantship contracts last for 9 months, but you don't need to worry about that for now. In the summer, your advisors will always find something they will find a way to sort you out. You don't need to worry about that. Then another important thing, maybe if you get 2 equal offers from universities, health insurance is something. If you live in Massachusetts, where I live, where it's a law, it's illegal for you not to have health insurance. I don't even know if it's the same in every other state. Health insurance can be a huge, huge cost. So you will still hear, there are some people who, for instance, they have a full scholarship, but they still find it really hard to survive in the US, because by the time you are paying out like $4,000 for your health insurance, how much are they giving you from your own pocket? It's really a lot. So that can be something to negotiate with. But talk to Auntie Shadi, definitely talk to Auntie Shadi when you get to that point. Yeah, I think I've covered the scholarships. They are not like the conventional scholarships. It's a fellowship that is a conventional one. If you get a fellowship, you are extremely privileged and lucky. But most people will not get a scholarship like that. They would get a teaching assistantship or a what's it called, a research assistantship. The last one is just a graduate assistantship, which you're essentially like a clerk or an that hardly comes. You may stay in the office of the HOD, the departmental chair, to be doing some paperwork. Only like one person gets it in like 3 or 4 years, because the person who holds it will not always be there for like 4 or 5 years until they finish or so, or they get promoted to an RA or TA. So that's not really something to reckon with. And Shadi, please, I'm sure.
All right, so let me go with the questions now.
Yes.
Okay, can I submit an IELTS in place of a TOEFL to apply to schools in the US? And that's a yes. You can actually submit an IELTS result in place of TOEFL. The question is it okay if the only reason I'm applying to graduate school is for economic mobility reasons? That's a question I should also ask you. I'm about giving back to people. So giving back is very important for me. So economic reason for you to be better in life, of course, that's the reason why you should go to grad school, for you to improve in your life and not be stagnant. But the word mobility, I will leave you to answer that question. I always talk about how people should give back home, and that's very important to me. Please, as a third class graduate, can I also consider writing GRE, or should I forget about considering applying abroad? If you have a third class, the first thing I'm going to advise you to do is to go through Word Evaluation Service.
Yes.
Like, make sure you evaluate your credentials. So you see your minimum GPA. So you see your GPA and know if your GPA meets up with the minimum requirements in the US. So I would strongly encourage you, do Word Evaluation Service and know what your GPA is if it meets the minimum requirement for any country. But I've seen lots of third classers who have made it to the US just because after they did the evaluation, they were able to at least apply to a couple of schools whose minimum requirement was not was like 2.5, not up to 3. So you can do that. Are there funding options for an MBA program? Yes, actually, I did a Facebook Live. So if you go to Abuja EducationUSA Facebook page, there's actually a session where we held funding opportunities for MBA programs, and we actually hosted one of our opportunity fund students on the page who just got a full ride to go to Ohio State University. Yes, there are funding opportunities for MBA, but they are limited and they are highly competitive. That's the question. What kind of fellowship is available to Nigerian PhD applications? Did I get that question well? Applying to a Nigerian PhD program, I wouldn't know if there are funding opportunities available. Or you might want to talk to your state government if there's a scholarship body in your state, or your state, Ogun State, Kano State, and ask if they do have scholarship for their people or for their citizens or their indigents. What do you think the chance of a candidate intending to go for a PhD in chemistry and with a BSc in 3.37. Okay, you know one funny thing? I beef chemistry majors. Trust me. I beef you because no matter how bad you are, you still get funding. That's the truth. So apply. It doesn't matter your GPA or no CGPA. For some funny reasons, there's so much fun for chemistry majors. So apply, fail GRE, enjoy yourself. You get funding. That's the reason why I beef you people. But engineers, don't try that. Engineering student, oh my goodness. Honestly, if your GRE score is not at par with what is happening in the world, you're not going to get in anywhere. So I tell my engineering student, 320 should be your barest minimum on the GRE. Otherwise, you're going to be doing Holy Ghost fire as you're applying to school. So, are we allowed? Oh my God. Okay, so are we allowed to stay back after the period of your study? Yes, there's something called the OPT, the optional practical training. You can have that for a year and also have an extension for another 2 years. For another 18 months. So yes, there's an OPT option after you graduate. Please, can you recap the point on use of mail? Okay, I don't know if it was use of email we talked about. So if you're asking your recommenders to write recommendation letters for you, please don't allow them to use generic Gmail or Yahoo email addresses to write recommendation letters for you. Invite them on their official email address. For example, Professor Adegboye at kanu.edu.ng, something like that. You know, so make sure you're using the official email. They have the official email, they just don't use it. So if it means you're going to the IT tech in your school to help them activate it, activate that email and use it, you know, please, it's very important. All right, so I'm trying to find out. Thank you for the knowledge. All right, please, can you show the, okay, the Instagram handle is EducationUSA Abuja. That's the Instagram handle. And how do we share the Donald Asher's book? I don't know if there's a WhatsApp platform here, and we can always share that on WhatsApp. I'm going to talk to Victor about that, how we can share that to people. But yes,
yeah, we have their email addresses. They register.
Okay, so we have your email addresses. We can email them to you as PDF format.
Yeah.
So that's what we can do. All right. So thank you. You emphasize, and this is Toby Lola. You emphasize has been on science-related courses. Are there no scholarship opportunity for someone who wants to study management, sales, or HR courses? Is it at the master's level or at the PhD level? It's just limited. When I say it's limited, Toby is really, really limited to get funding. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is possible to get funding for management, HR courses, but you really need to stand out. What have you done differently? Really, is it just your credential? What have you done differently? That's really will go a long way. Is there a minimum CGPA that schools in the US require? Most schools in the US require 3.0 out of a 4 GPA. You can always, for those of you who are not first classes and strong 2-1s, if you're a 2-2 student, you can actually go to West's website and do like an unofficial evaluation of your credentials for you to know what your minimum GPA is. You know, and you can always get that and see what your GPA is. Some schools will tell you a 2.75 minimum GPA. Some schools will tell you 2.5, but majority of the schools will require a 3.0 out of a 4 as minimum GPA. And that's the reason we always emphasize on the fact that, you know, first class 2-1, strong 2-2, not mistake 2-2. Mistake 2-2 might really not meet a 3.0 GPA. Forgive me if you have a mistake 2. Yeah, so I have a 4.3 GPA and completed my master's last year. However, I'm finding it difficult to get my MSc due to COVID. ASU strike. Can I go ahead and apply? Yes, if you have this Dele Olakpoju, I would say go ahead and apply. Like, you honestly don't need the master's credentials to apply. You have a 313 on the GRE and the TOEFL is 103. That's great GRE and TOEFL score. You can honestly go ahead and apply to schools directly for PhD. Yes, you can. However, if you have any kind of research work that you've published, it's always a plus for you. Okay, somebody's asking, what are the things we really need to watch out for in both GRE and TOEFL in terms of getting high score? Practice, brother, practice. GRE ETS, very important. Magoosh, everything, Manhattan, Barons, Kaplan, everything.
Barons is a which, sorry to say, I don't know if they will hear this. I hope they don't hear you.
Magoosh, Manhattan, highly recommended.
Magoosh, Manhattan, and ETS, those 3. Then if you want to stray outside those three, then you can use what's it called? There's this thing called Nova Math Bible, because you don't want to waste your time reading unnecessary material. Because trust me, I don't want to mention names here, but I can tell you these 4 materials are more than enough, and I highly recommend Magoosh. They know me. If you mention my name, the reason I recommend Magoosh, I know the videos are freely available online. You can get the videos easily, but I recommend it because they have an algorithm that tracks your performance, and I can assure you the score they give to you, if you have a Magoosh account you're sharing with people, it's not as effective as if you have your personal one to yourself. Buy one for yourself. They have an algorithm that tracks how well you are doing. That's what I actually used to prepare for my GRE. It's super convenient. You can use it on your iPad or phone or like any small tablet. It is very convenient. The most important thing in Magoosh is the tracking of your performance tracking. And it shows you the time you spend on every question compared to the time other people spend on it. It has video explanations for every single question. It is the most convenient way to prepare for the GRE. And their questions are of top quality. I highly recommend them. They know me. I send emails to them. They give me discounts sometimes. So if you just tell them, hey, there's this guy at Tufts. His name is Victor. He highly recommended we get Magoosh, and you copy my Gmail, reach out to me. No, don't reach out to me. Just tell them Victor at Tufts. They know. Tell them Auntie Shade. Don't reach out to me because I'm busy with work. I will not reply any email or phone call, honestly. So just tell them how can I get a discount? You are from Nigeria. You've heard very nice things about this product. They are willing to give discounts. Sometimes they even, consider giving some people for free. Because when my sister applied she did Magoosh, she couldn't write the GRE. I just sent them an email and they gave her a free one. They can also freeze your account for some months. If, for instance, you buy now, you're unable to use it, they will freeze your membership. So I highly recommend buy it and be selfish with it, because the whole point is that it is tracking your performance. If you share it with your friend, it is tracking 2 people's performance at the same time, and it doesn't make sense. The final score you will get on it is plus or minus 3 points from what you get on the actual thing. So yeah, I highly recommend Magoosh.
Okay, in terms of final points, ETS Power Prep is what will honestly analyze your final point. I strongly recommend ETS Power Prep, so you see how that comes out at the end of the day. So somebody's asking us about Donald Trump, and this is not political. We're going for school, so let's leave US politics alone for now.
Exactly.
So we talked about the GRE materials and all that, so that's fine. Okay, I was saying something about a center, but I think my eyes just skipped it.
Oh, let me see. Maybe I already published it live.
Okay, how do you know which of the exams to write? How do you know? Please just write GRE and TOEFL. Those are the only 2 exams you need to write, really. There's not any other exam. So scholarship, there are no links to scholarship application, Toby.
Yeah.
You're applying to the school. It is a school that will give you the admission and funding offer.
Yeah.
So there's no like a scholarship body in the US that gives you scholarship. It is a school in the US that will decide if you're admissible and if your admission will come with funding. So a lot of people get admission without funding. So, but make sure you're applying to a school that the chances of you getting funding is really, really high. To be candid and sincere, I seek an avenue to explore the field of Okay.
So sorry. So I have to tell, I think we didn't specify how long this meeting would last. This is 4:01, which should be about 9:01 p.m. in Nigeria. By 4:15 max, we'll have to end this. And I think even 4:10 actually. So if you want to still stay on, that's fine. I have other things to do. So if you also want to drop, that's fine. This meeting is being recorded and we would figure out where to upload it later. So yeah, if you want to stay on, please stay on. In the next 14 minutes, we have to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just about to drop off our email address to all participants. So they can always send Abuja EducationUSA an email. That's kind of a way.
Don't reach out to me. I'm a busy PhD student. I will not respond. I'm saying it now.
Even if you respond, I'm going to slap you.
So please, nobody should reach out to me.
So somebody's asking if GRE is mandatory. This year, a lot of schools are saying that they are waiving GRE for people, but seriously, we are looking for funding. We need to take GRE. Except maybe if you have a lot of research papers, though. Because I normally tell Nigerians, what do you have compared to other applicants? What do we have apart from GRE? If you see other applications from other people applying, I was at the Washington State University in April last year, and I sat inside the admission office. I wanted to cry for Nigerian applications. They showed me Nigerian applications compared to the other pool of applications that was submitted. Actually, they admit us based on PT, to be very honest, maybe based on diversity. They want an African on campus. Honestly, like compared to those other applications, our application is actually nothing to write home about. So don't try to start dodging things. Do as much as you can to boost your application. So please, I strongly recommend you write GRE and boost your application in terms of research, whatever you can use to boost your application. Please boost your application and stop looking for how to avoid things. That's what I'm going to say. Is WES for every applicant? No, some schools require WES. It's not for every applicant, but I specifically recommended it for those who had a third class or those who have like a minimum 2.2. You know in your mind that your 2.2 was just minimum. Please, I would strongly encourage you to do the word evaluation or ECE. It doesn't have to be WES. It can be ECE or it can be WES. So each of them or any of the evaluators in the US, before I start promoting just one evaluator and I get the ethical beating.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the best starting point in researching for schools as we get overwhelmed? Oh my God, this is actually a very good question.
Very good one, yeah.
Very good question. Even for me, I get overwhelmed as an Peterson's. I start with Peterson's. Let's start with
Peterson's.
You know, do you have any other place that people can go to and find, you know, where to? Peterson's for me is always the best place. Gradschools.com, Grad Cafe. That's where you're going to see people who apply to schools, their profile, and you can match your profile to them to see if you can really compete. You know, like your brother now that was standing in front of me when he was telling me I was going to apply to MIT. Me, I knew in my mind, I'm like, you know what, I wish you all the best, but I'm very realistic when it comes to me selecting schools in the US. I'm a very realistic person. I don't do fates. I'm very realistic. So I look at the profile of students that they've admitted in that school before now, and I compare it with mine. You know, so Grad Cafe will help you with that. Graduate school will help you. Then Peterson's, honestly, Peterson's really comes highly recommended. So,
can I say something about that? About grad school application process. So one of the things that I learned from Auntie Shade after spending several hours with her and looking at over 40 different universities in depth is there are 3 things you want to confirm in a school. Number 1 is, do they have what I want? This is a general conceptual overview of how to search for schools. Do they have what I want? Do they have the program? Number 2 is, what are my chances of getting admitted into this school? That the thing you're looking out for is the acceptance rate. The time I applied to MIT mechanical engineering, acceptance rate was 11%. By the way, Tufts is also a very nice school for undergrads. That year, acceptance rate was 14%. So meaning 1 out of averagely 10 people who apply get in. So if the acceptance rate of a school is that low, it means the school is very selective. The chances of getting in are low. But if as soon as it starts becoming anything like 33%, it means even if they, you know, by luck, 1 out of 3, 1 out of 2, anything above 50% or 55 is considered, I would consider it a safe school. I don't know if there's a threshold for you as well. But definitely anything above 65%, it means maybe not too many people know that school exists or that program exists, or it's a new program, or for whatever reason, they admit more than half of the people who come in. So it makes sense you should apply to at least 6 schools, at least, ideally 12, 10. These are another mistake. Some people apply to just 1 school. That's one of the common mistakes people make. They apply to 1 or 2 or 3 schools. And they will tell me, oh, I know a friend that applied to 1 or 2 or 3 schools. And I'm like, yeah. I know a friend who flew out of a helicopter and he survived. He's an exception. It's not the rule. You know, I know a friend that doesn't look at the road 2 times or doesn't wear seatbelts when he's driving and he has never had an accident or he has never died in an accident. It's an exception. It's not the rule. Don't allow those people to confuse you. We have many of them like that. Or if they're in chemistry or biological sciences and they have so much funding, many professors are looking for them. As an engineer, you have to apply to at least 6 schools. Do 2-2-2 or 3-3-3. 2 of your top schools, like my dream schools were MIT and Virginia Tech. I applied. I knew I may not get in, but I'd rather try. And, you know, it's just 2 schools. Then you now go for medium ranked schools. And then you now go for at least 2. And then you go for at least 2 schools that are safety schools. So you have to be very strategic. Like the coming up with your list of schools is like the most extensive part of the work. It's one of the most extensive. It's very important. There are over like 1,600 graduate programs in the US. But that's why I like the Peterson's book. Actually, if you want to do this thing, the Petersons.com is a website, but their book has a lot more than the website. And that was why I used to go to EducationUSA Abuja. If you want to do extensive research on any school, you basically have to be a member. Either go to EducationUSA Abuja or Lagos. you go and join them. You go there and look at that book. That book is very, very annoying in the font. I use glasses. I don't see that well. Sometimes I'm missing lines. You know, you have to be tracing the words very, but it will tell you stuff like how many millions of dollars in research expenditure the school spent. It will tell you how many research assistants they have, how many of them are on full funding, how many of them are on partial funding. Some schools don't release all their information though. Tufts didn't release their information. I knew about Tufts because Auntie Shade knew some people there. Some people at EducationUSA Lagos had already told me about Tufts as well. So it was one of the schools I just said, let me apply, because people who know people there say, okay, Tufts has money to admit students. So one thing is, do they have what I want? Number two is, what are my chances of getting admitted? Number three is, if I get admitted, can they fund me? So if you look at a school and they have 100 or they have 30 PhD students, and out of the 30, only 10 people are on research assistantship and teaching assistantship, you know, although for the PhD students, for masters, most master students pay their money. They are often students from Asia, but if you look at the PhD students, you can easily know whether a school actually has enough money or if they are currently sponsoring many of their existing PhD students. For their full-time PhD students, if more than half of them are not on either teaching assistantships or graduate assistantships, it is doubtful whether or not the school can actually fund you, because I'm assuming you want full scholarship. That's why you are doing this, or full funding. So does the school have what I want? Am I competitive enough to get into that school based on my GRE score, based on my GPA? And number three is, if they admit me, can they fund me? And it's actually helpful to email. There's somebody often known as the graduate programs director, different from departmental chair. You can email the graduate program director of any program you're interested in to be like, hello, you know, I'm interested in applying to so and so. Please, could you kindly confirm if there are funding opportunities available for international students? Some schools put it on their websites. It's often better to even ask. If you email a professor, professors are busy, they get too many emails sent to them. They may not be able to respond to you. But the trick is, email the graduate programs director, and you can carbon copy the departmental chair, and those people can easily respond because it's their jobs. One professor every year is often chosen to be the graduate programs coordinator, who is like the admissions officer sort of for the department. So it is their job to respond to inquiries from prospective graduate students. So Mark Hoodies was the graduate program director last year. As at the time I came in, I think it was Robert White in my department. You know, they are very, very wonderful people. They will respond to your email. And the departmental chair or the HOD, their emails are usually managed by their personal assistants, or they are the secretary to the department. So those ones also have an interest in quickly responding. But if you have to send a message to my advisor, for instance, Professor Jason Rife, be like, hey, I'm an applicant from Nigeria. He gets so many of those. He may not reply to you, honestly. So know the right person to send your emails to. You can still send him an email if you have a research area you're interested in working on, but honestly, don't expect replies. Don't expect it. If they reply, then I think you're fortunate. So email the graduate program director too. I think I've said too much.
Yeah, so what about pharmacy? Health-related courses in the US are a little bit tricky. I will really strongly encourage you to do more research on them. You know, yes, they're just tricky. So it's a different session entirely for it. They are funding available, yes, but they are limited. The person who asks about pharmacy and what's the funding level like. Somebody asked about application fee. That is it okay to application fee waivers? Is it okay to ask for application fee waivers? That's kind of the conversation we're having on our graduate WhatsApp group now. I always say, people don't ask too much. Join webinars. If you join webinars, you automatically most times get free application fee waivers. I rather would pay an application fee and ask for bigger money and start asking for application fee before I even start asking for funding. So if you can get application fee waivers, yes, there are so many out there. Get them without asking by joining their webinars. Last week, we had the top 10 graduate school that did the graduate fair thing, and there were so many graduate application fee waivers that was given out on that day. So yes, you can ask, but I would honestly advise you to pay application fee. Honestly, I would say pay application fee and ask for funding and ask for application fee waivers. Which other question do we have? We have just about 2 more minutes to go before we wrap up.
Okay.
Somebody's asking, is it easier to get into government universities than private universities? In the US, I would rather use what public schools or private schools. So I don't think it's easier either way. Like it depends on the school's acceptance rate, really. Yeah, the research-led institutions definitely have more research grants and they can give out more funding at the graduate level. But who gives better it depends on the school. There's no private or public school that gives more money. It just is a general school. Just check out the school and see if what kind of funding they do have. Okay, some programs state that GRE is optional this year. Yes, you can just go ahead and submit your application and see if you can be considered. But as I told my son this year, I will still strongly recommend them to write the GRE. The Chinese will write GRE. The Indians will write GRE. We in Nigeria are looking about how to have optional GRE. So yes, it's optional. You can go ahead and apply. If you get in, Oluwatosa will really be happy for you. But if you don't get in, you can apply next year again. Then you write your GRE and apply next year. Graduate school is really competitive to get into, so we really need to be ready. Yeah, most graduate scholarship opportunities are available for first class and 2-1 students. What can 2-2 candidates do to better their chances? Research, publications. Research and publications will always better your chances, even if you have 2-1 or 2-2 or first class. Trust me, having research publications, especially at international journals, will really help you improve your chances. What are the chances of getting funding without emailing professors for PhD programs? I've seen people who have emailed professors and the professors never get back to them. I will tell you, email professors, email them, as much as you can. If you don't get any response, go ahead and apply. I've seen people who never got any response from any professors and they still got into school. But reach out to them. A lot of professors actually will reach out to you, especially if you have something to offer. Not just emailing them and telling them how you want to apply and how you're looking for funding. No, what are you bringing to the table? That's a question that you need to be able to catch that professor's attention with. Then final question. I don't know which will be the final question.
There are so many questions.
Yeah, there are so many questions. So wow. I'm just like, okay, which is that one amazing question?
I don't think we mentioned the issue of work. Let's do the one of work. After master's, can you get work and residency? OPT, the opportunities that exist after. I think we should probably take that one.
Yeah, I talked about OPT.
Oh, you already talked about it?
Yeah, I talked about OPT. That is, you have a 1 year to do OPT. You also have an extension for STEM majors.
Okay.
So STEM majors have an 18-month extension after OPT. Then after that, work, I'm not going to talk about work on this platform because officially you're supposed to go and come back if you graduate from school and you have and you do the OPT. If you get a job along the way, good for you, but I'm not going to promote that at all. Just come back home. That's what I'm going to promote. Come back home, come back home. We need you in Nigeria. We need you in the region. If you don't even come back to Nigeria, come back to the region. I'm going to promote that. All right, how can we see webinars to join? Honestly, grad cafes, there are lots of webinars on grad cafes. That's going to be the last question I'm going to take. I'll let you. Victor, let me end on. Somebody just asked, how can we join Education USA group? I sent out the email there. You can email Abuja Education USA. And it's free, really. It's free. We're doing virtual advising for now because of Corona. But our membership program is actually free in Abuja. So we're doing virtual free membership in Abuja. You can join. We'll put you on the Google Classroom. We'll put you on the WhatsApp group where you meet other graduate students. And you guys can chat and gist together.
I paid $34K that time. It was like $100.
It's been free for us. Yeah.
Okay.
It's free.
Yes, thank you so much. So we have come to the end. I want to just thank Auntie Sade and some other people are behind the scenes. The person who put this program together, if you can show your video, the other people will see you. Steven is Auntie Sade knows Steven, I think. He's the one. Show your video, Steven. Let us see you.
I saw his picture though, so I was able
you saw his picture, yeah. So he's the one who helps me do all my slides and everything. He's a digital media consultant. You know, you can reach out to him for any work you want to do. Success is also helping me manage things behind the scenes. Abraham Olumide is the founder of this man. Can you show your video, sir? Yeah, he's the one who invited me. He has a group chat of like 500 Nigerians where they try to teach them on different things, and they reached out to me that they wanted to somebody to talk about how to apply to graduate schools. So this is specifically for their own group chat, but it became big because I have so many other people who have been requesting that I do the same webinar for them. I'm like, why don't we do it together? And that's why it's this big. And I reached out to people at Tufts, actually. The people at my university were excited. Roxanne, the admissions officer, she's like, next time, please let us know on time. The time is too short. I got the webinar license from Tufts University, so I have to thank them because I only have meeting license rather. So they are willing to do more and more of these. So the other person, I think he dropped off the call. What's his name? Daniel, who was doing. Okay, you're here. If you show your video, we can see you.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe.
So yes. But thank you so much. We promised people 4:15. I really tried not to do African time in America. This is 4:18, which is like 9:18 p.m. But thank you all so much. I think there was one question about age limit for PhD. I don't think there is age limit, sort of like, yes. So you can feel free to reach out to Auntie Shade. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like, unfortunately, recently, one of the researchers who passed on at Kentucky, a friend of a friend, he was in his 50s. You know, he was already a professor in Nigeria. He was already a lecturer in Nigeria before he got the opportunity to come here with his family to come and do his PhD. So it was a sad story. I don't want to mention any names, but I'm just saying age is not a barrier. It's what they care about in the US is what is upstairs. If you're 80 and you can deliver, they will hire you. Age is never a barrier. No matter how young you are, you can finish at 21 and they give you direct PhD, and you can be like 51 and they still give you, or even 61. As long as you can demonstrate that you have stuff here, or you are willing to work on your head and you can do something, that would be great. So yeah, where the meeting has ended officially. There were some videos we wanted to play, but I don't think we have enough time. Go on YouTube, go to Education USA, type Education USA on YouTube. You will see more. Look at their websites: Education USA Lagos, Education USA Abuja, Education USA Nigeria. Auntie Shade, like, she's the one you're all meeting here. She's a very, very nice person. She's also extremely busy. So if you reach out to her once she doesn't reply, No,
I'm not busy for students. Please, they can reach out to me.
Okay.
I'll be the one responding to that email, and really, I'll respond to your email.
Okay.
I will actually honestly respond.
It may take some time. She may not respond the first day or the second.
I might not respond immediately, but I promise to respond to your email. I'm actually going to drop up my cell phone number in here.
Oh wow, you're going to do that?
Yeah. So send me WhatsApp. Don't call me, please. Send me a WhatsApp message. I promise to get back to you.
Oh wow. Okay, that's it. And Shade has dropped her number. For the recording, for those who will not see the chat, 234-805-35-81193. So that's plus 234-805-358-1193. She prefers you message her on WhatsApp. No calls. Send her a message.
Yeah, WhatsApp. I'll get back to you.
She will get back to you on WhatsApp. After a week, if she doesn't get back, you can send a kind reminder.
It's not that, Victor, it's not that bad.
No. I have friends that tell me they reached out to you, that they've not gotten a response yet, and I'm like,
I did get back to your friend. I did.
Okay. Some of them are on this call, so please reach out to Auntie Shade. If you reach out to me, I will block your WhatsApp. If you have my number, I'm serious. So please, Auntie Shade is being paid for that. Please let me focus on my grad school. I'm doing this as a favor to some of my friends. I'm begging you guys, reach out to Auntie Shade. She will help you. Any questions you have, she has over 20 years of experience doing this. I only learned this in 2016. So like, who is the best person to reach out to? Is Auntie Shade, please. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Auntie Shade, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Abraham. Thank you, Stephen, for hosting us.
Thank you, Matu. You're very well known.
Thank you.
I'm ending the meeting for all in 3, 2, 1, end.